see that we are actually live. Let's see. There it is. Okay. All right. Cool. How about youtube.com/Framinthor? Oh, /at. How they do it? Yeah. More Malding political content. Hell yeah. There we go. All right. Let's get some water ready. We got many hours ahead of us talking about this shit. Maybe I'll play some Vindictus later. But yeah, since this video is like 2 hours, it's probably gonna be like a 4-hour content. Because I can't shut the hell up for some reason. It's not in my blood. Let's get the caffeine ready. And I don't like coffee, so I take caffeine pills. Bam. Let's get some alpha brain going. Maybe I will say something smart and then I can attribute all of it to the alpha brain. And let's get the recording started, as well as the nicotine gum. All right. Okay. Caffeine intake, alpha brain intake. I don't even know if it works, but fuck it. And nicotine gum. We're ready to comment on stuff. Alright, so where's Claim 1? This is Claim 1. Alright, so this is a Palestinian guy. Been resistance. 20 protester versus 1 Palestinian. Beat Ahmed Wad Al-Khatib, I think. Anyways, October 7th was an abhorrent disaster that unleashed the worst catastrophe in the Palestinian people's history. 100% agree. Hamas kind of fucked their own people over. Alright, see what people are saying.
Catastrophe in the Palestinian people's history. Hi, my name is Ahmed.
So,
Wow, bro. Just because he disagrees with you on this point, knowing full well he is actually a Palestinian, and what you like, dude, I swear these people have not been like slapped in the face by their dad or like smacked over the head by their dad. Sorry, slapped in the face by their mom or on like they were not taught fucking basic human manners. Okay, you don't know this person, you don't hate this person yet. The first thing is just show him some basic respect. Like give him props, whatever. I don't know, like whatever you like younger people do these days. But like dude, like he even stood, like look at this. Proper fucking human etiquette.
Unleashed
Look
the
at this.
worst catastrophe in the Palestinian people's history.
Look, this is already, this guy has way more respect from me and from any viewer that should be watching this than this fucko. To not even shake his hand. Oh my god.
Hi, my name is Ahmed.
so
Wow.
worst catastrophe. I think that you're using specific words for specific reasons. The Nakba catastrophe, right? I want to offer my condolences. I believe that 33 members of your family were exterminated by the Zionist entity. So my question is, how is this worse than what initiated everything, which was the Nakba in 1948?
My grandparents were pushed out in 1948, where 700,000 Palestinians were unfortunately forced to leave their homes, and in some cases had no choice but to leave their homes. Since October 7th, over 2.1 million Palestinian people have had to leave their homes due to the catastrophe that Hamas's actions unleashed by attacking Israeli communities on October 7th.
And technically fair. That's fair. It's not really a point towards Israel, but it is fair argument.
Quantitatively and qualitatively, Hamas's actions have triggered one of the worst catastrophes in the Palestinian people's history, whereby 50,000 Palestinians would still be alive had Hamas simply kept its soldiers at home on October 7th.
How many did you say? 50,000?
Whereby 50,000 Palestinians would still be alive had Hamas simply kept its soldiers at home on October
50,000, 76% of them, based on Hamas numbers, are military-aged men. That means, what is that? 38,000 basically are military-aged men. That means 12,000 are women and children. Dude, these numbers are like really fucking in favor of Israel. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, but these numbers are like based on his numbers, obviously. Right, I'm pretty sure the numbers were like at 70,000 at this point, 65 or whatever. But like, these are still pretty good numbers.
October 7th,
Right. So,
including family members of my own.
so by that logic, if Zionists wouldn't have colonized Palestine, then none of this would have began to begin with, right?
As a Palestinian who grew up in the Gaza Strip, what I can tell you is that
Who put you there?
the Gaza
Who
Strip
put you there?
had immense potential to be the pride and joy of the Palestinian people, to prove that we are absolutely capable of having a functional state of our
True.
own that can rebuild our society, rebuild our
True.
heritage, reclaim our presence on the land.
The entirety of the land, or just because I believe your parents were in a refugee camp?
Like, I hate this. It's like, bro, you don't have the strength to reclaim the whole land. Just make do with what you have. Like this argument, I'm so tired of this fucking arguments. Oh, well, you deserve the whole land. It's like, bro, you don't deserve shit. Okay, you should be thankful that you even got Gaza to begin with.
Camp, right? They were forced into that.
There are nuances and complexities in
Well, who put
history.
them there?
Nuances and complexities.
that's a very
in-
objective
in,
thing.
in
Who put them
history
there?
that
PLO.
unfortunately
Zionists, right?
you unfortunately are not willing to listen to some of the nuances and the complexities. Do you know, for example,
Well,
that
just answer
in
that, like,
1948, in 1948, the Arab armies that were coming in to supposedly save the Palestinian people asked
From whom? From
Palestinians
whom?
asked
From the
Palestinians to
Zionists,
leave,
occupiers, yeah.
asked Palestinians to leave, disarmed Palestinians, and said, "Oh, this is a matter of
Yeah,
2 to 3 days."
true.
So we agree that they should have been armed.
That's not my point. My point
You said
is
they
that
The point is that they were asked to leave by their own people. The Arab nations in the area asked them to leave as well, so that Israel will have less people. Like, you can say like, oh, the Nakba was because Israel kicked them out. I'm sure there were cases, but that's not all the cases. Okay, a lot of them left voluntarily, or more like were asked to by their like allies who used them as fucking lambs to the slaughter.
Arm them as if it's a negative thing,
the
right?
history of the Nakba itself is so singularly focused on what happened from the point of view of Zionism and
Colonizers, right?
whereas I actually want to understand what
Colonizers,
happened with the Arab failures that have
To
put
stop
us.
the failures to stop Zionism, right?
Why wasn't a
from colonizing
Palestinian
Palestine, right?
state? Why wasn't a Palestinian state established between 1948 and
Because the
1967?
British were in control of the region, and we know for a fact
Not since not after 1948. They weren't. He said 1948 to 1967.
the Palestinian revolt was in opposition to the British, right? So when people talk,
Fact check. Britain controlled modern day Israel, Palestine, and Jordan from 18 till 48. So yeah, already good. Dude, Jubilee, honestly, like they used to like, I used to like make fun of them. I think ever since they came out with like 1 versus 20, like they've been doing a really good job
about, oh, you know, we've been opposing colonization
overall.
for 75 years since the Nakba. Add another 30 for British colonization of the region. Is that incorrect?
Between 1948
No,
and
is it
1967.
incorrect that the British
Who was in
colonized the
charge
region?
between 1948
Is
and
that incorrect? You
1967?
haven't answered a single one of my questions. I asked, who put your parents in Gaza? And you weren't willing to answer that. Can you at least answer me that? Who put your parents in Gaza?
Between 1948
You're
and
not gonna-
67 and 1967.
You've dodged every one of my questions.
It's not dodging so
So
much.
just, it's a very simple question. Who put your parents in a refugee camp?
On my mom's side, the Arab invading armies asked the invading armies to liberate the Palestinian people.
Why were they
asked
invading?
to supposedly stop the Zionist
From
invasion
doing what?
from taking over the Palestinian people's lands in the areas that later on became Israel.
Okay, and you're okay with that?
I'm not okay with that.
Okay, so we should liberate.
It's not a matter of like that's reality. Like, what do you want to do? It's like, are you okay with that? No. What do you want me to do about it? Oh my god.
Break that line.
80 years later, Israel is a
80.
recognized state that exists, that is recognized
what it
by
is.
the
Yeah.
entirety of the international community.
Yeah.
And this illusion that armed resistance is going to get rid of 7 million Jewish Israelis, 7 million.
We're talking getting rid of the Zionist occupation, the Zionist entity itself, right? The colonial forces.
So do you believe
How do you how do you go and get rid of them? Well, you're just gonna ask them to leave? No, like armed forces. And that, so to his point, do you believe that an armed fucking militia is going to get rid of the 7 million Jews in Israel? No, like oh my god, people are so fucking stupid.
that there should be a space for the Jewish people?
There
on
always
the-
have been. What we're opposition to is, or opposing, I should say, is the Zionist entity itself. Why do Europeans have the right to colonize and impose a government on Palestinians? Why?
Well, I would say that we should ask that to the
No, I'm
King of
asking you.
Jordan
I'm
at the
asking you.
time.
He's not here, unfortunately.
At the time, we should ask the Arab armies that came to liberate the Palestinian people
Why
and,
didn't they
ended
defeat
up,
the Zionists?
and ended up facilitating part of the Nakba by asking folks. My mom.
So you're blaming the Nakba on the Arab countries.
No, part of
I'm
it.
blaming the failures of the Arabs and of the Palestinian leadership at the time in acting in the best
It's really hard for him to explain to people like him what accountability is, but yeah.
interest of the Palestinian people. And then looking at 1948 to 1967, why wasn't a Palestinian state established? Why wasn't it until 1964 that at the Arab League summit that the decision was made to create the Palestinian Liberation Organization?
Yeah, they created the Palestinian Liberation Organization in 1964 to unify, the PLO. Yeah.
And to push for Palestinian statehood. Why was Jordan allowed to annex the West Bank and Egypt annex the Gaza Strip?
To be
when
very
my
clear,
family-
I'm against that, but that's a regional conflict, right? That's a regional. What I'm opposed to is Europeans thinking they could colonize Palestine.
Do you know
That's
that
a
half
primary
of Jewish
contradiction, right?
Israelis? Do you know
Well, I'm
that
not talking
half
about.
of Jewish
No, I'm talking
Israelis
about the
are-
originators of the Zionist project. Can we agree that they were Europeans?
Not entirely, no.
The majority?
Not entirely.
The majority secular Jews.
There were certainly some elements of the
majority was.
Zionist movement.
The first political Zionist meeting was held in Switzerland. The movement's headquarters later moved from Austria to... I think this is really what they're talking about. They aim to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine due to rising anti-Semitism, which is, again, the homeland of the Jews, yeah, the Palestine, Judea, Israel. How many... Let's ask Grok, because people laugh at me for using ChatGPT, so I'm going to use Grok. How many non-European Jews moved to what is now known to be Israel between 1920 to 1948? Challenging you to limit the specific data on non-European Jewish immigration during this period. Most available records focus on total Jewish immigration to emphasize European Jewish immigration. Yeah, it's really hard because you have so many Turkish Jews, you have Hindu Jews, right? You have what do you call it? Yemenis Jews. They're there. I don't know. So Jewish population in Palestine was around 600,000. So regular approximately Jews immigrated to Palestine between, but how many of them were non-European Jewish immigration during this period primarily came from Middle Eastern? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, such as Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and Morocco. As well as smaller numbers from Iran, Turkey, and other. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There was a good chunk of them, to the point where it's like, when I moved to Israel in 1991, like European Jews in like the both places that I lived in, like I lived in a kibbutz and then I lived in like a town or a city, or I guess it's a city. We were a minority. There were a lot more like Moroccan Jews than like European Jews. So it's really hard for me to like imagine that the majority of the people, of the Jews that went to Israel during that time, were European, right? Non-European Jews were Yemenite Jews. Yeah, we had a lot of those. In 1882 and 1948, 35,000 Yemenite Jews immigrated to Palestine with significant waves in the 1920s, 30s. By 1948, nearly all Yemen's Jewish population had migrated with a major organized effort, Magic Carpet, occurring just after Answering about for another 50,000, estimates that around 15 to 20,000 Yemeni Jews arrived between, okay, so what, 60,000, I guess, in total. 70,000 already, just Yemen, right? Then you have Iraq, or Morocco is a pretty big one, right? It was literally like we had like mini turf wars, kind of like not really turf wars, but it was like you had like the European Jews versus like the Moroccan Jews, like in our cities. Like there was like massive racism going back and forth, right? So when we were growing up and like in the workforce in the 90s, right? So it's like if you think that the majority of the Jews who migrated to Palestine were European, I'm sorry to tell you, there was the biggest racism in Israel was against European Jews. So they couldn't have even been the majority because the vast majority of the racism was towards them, right? They would not get promoted in many jobs, right? Like because like oh they came here to steal our jobs was literally like what people were saying, kind of like about how you say about illegal immigrants in the U.S., right? Like these European Jews are coming to steal our jobs, yada yada yada, right? That was the notion. So the majority of the Jews in Israel were not like white. Just saying. At least not where I live.
That certainly emerged out of Europe. But I'm saying right now, I am thinking about the future. I'm thinking about Gaza. What happened in Gaza on October 7th was not because of Zionism.
What happened in Gaza on October 7th?
What happened with the attack that Hamas launched as a terrorist organization. You have taken an entirely different approach to thinking about October 7th. You have eaten up the Hamas propaganda that says October 7th happened because of Zionism.
And you're eating up the Zionist propaganda, right? Because I don't ever hear you bringing up, and I've seen many of your interviews, I don't see you ever bringing up the IOF, if you want to call them the IDF, the Haganah, where they came from, right? They started as a terrorist militia, did they not? Were they not killed in British soldiers? How is that irrelevant?
British Defense Forces originally formed from the Haganah. Haganah, which by the way means defense, and its military branch, the Palmach. Palmach, I believe, was that resist Nazi forces. World War II. Yeah, that was like the underground shit, right? They were underground taking action. Should have just read one more word. Underground taking actions. Israelis consider resistance, and Arabs consider terrorism. Again, sure. Even if like I would agree. Let's say like sure they were evil, whatever. At this point, it really doesn't matter. What you think? Like anyone who colonized anything was like they were good people. Like you don't like. I'm sorry, you do not win land with them like with just means. Okay. It's like no matter how morally good you might be as a person, if you take someone's land, you're gonna use dirty tricks. You're gonna use force. Like you're gonna trick them into it. No matter what. Like so, it's like yeah, none of this matters.
Where they came from, and they continue to impose that upon the Palestinian population. I ask you, why is it that in the West Bank, there's nobody stopping all the colonization that's still occurring?
Are you Palestinian?
I'm Mexican.
Have you lived in the Gaza Strip?
No, and you were run out, right? When you aligned yourself with, what was that organization you're involved with? Because I know you work for the Atlantic Council right now, right?
Do you know anything about my history?
Yes, I do.
So tell me, what is my history?
Your parents were forced into Gaza, were they not? They grew up in a refugee camp, were they not?
Do you know anything about Hamas and how it treats Palestinians in the Gaza Strip? Do you know
Not worse than Israelis and Zionists treat them?
Do you know that in the past
way worse? Way worse.
2 days,
so we agree.
Hamas executed dozens of Palestinians who were hungry, who were desperate, as Hamas was looting.
Dozens of Palestinians, meanwhile, the Zionist entity exterminated 33 of your family members?
Pause.
Yeah, during a war. That's a bit different, right? They're like casualties of war versus just like attacking your own people for no reason because they're hungry. Like that's just two different fucking reasons. The reason actually matters. The context actually matters.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Also, by the way, I was wrong at the beginning. I guess he did know him. Still, basic etiquette is to fucking shake someone's hand. Just because you disagree with him on an opinion.
Daniel, my name is Ahmed.
Daniel, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Respect.
So I want to shift the conversation a little bit.
Please.
You said that October 7th was one of the most detrimental things to Palestinians, correct? I would beg to differ because I think the fact that, also, let's not pretend like
the problem with that statement, in my opinion, is too general because like you can use their arguments of like, well, this led to this, led to this, led to this, led to this, therefore the original sin is the greatest kind of thing.
7th was an isolated incident. It didn't come out of nowhere. It came after years and years and years of occupation, oppression, and siege. Okay? So on October 7th, when the resistance took place, because it was an isolated incident, it also happened to take place during a time where social media was rampant. So for the first time in a really long time, Palestine was in every conversation. Most everybody that you know could talk about Palestine in one way or another. They knew about what was going on, and for the first time, we are hearing people recognize how detrimental the IDF has been and the occupation has been in history.
It's more easily to propagate to you, that's for sure. However, again, I grew up in Israel, and let me tell you, every time there was any semblance of a conflict, Israel was always in the wrong, regardless of what the conflict was. Even if it, and most of the time, it came because there was like a suicide bomber or whatever. So it's like Israel would conduct an operation in somewhere, right? And then you would hear like on Western news, oh, Israel are the evil guys, they're killing innocent people. Then like you would see like reporters reporting body bags and whatever, and then like even with a lack of media, you would get that debunked live on air. Like it was so stupid.
And I think that the fact that it took place during a time where social media was at its height, we're seeing people on the ground, we're seeing people take videos of the rubble of their homes, we're seeing people have to makeshift water
emotional, yeah.
filters so that they can have drinkable water. We are seeing children get shot for collecting rainwater. We are seeing children dying and starving and emaciated infants. And for the first time, it's not just on the news. It's on your phone. We're watching a genocide take place on our phones. And
no, you're watching a war take place on your phone, and most people are just, especially like you pampered little bitches, are not like, you are not like fucking, I don't want to say accustomed, but it's like you are not like programmed to understand war, right? You don't understand conflict at all. You don't understand, like, dude, just fucking read any book about war. This is nothing, man. Like, what's happening in Gaza compared to like any war in the history is like nothing. So fucking absurd.
Everybody is talking about it. So how can you say that October 7th was so detrimental to the Palestinians when it is the first time that it has been brought to heightened media attention?
Well, I share your horror in what's happening in Gaza. I mean, it is an unimaginable level of death and destruction and pain and suffering and hunger. And in some cases, I mean, people like being burnt in their tents and all the really horrible level atrocities that I have called out. And I have said that the Israeli government and military have committed war crimes. I've actually like overtly said that.
I mean, it doesn't take much to recognize that.
But my point is, I don't want my people and my family and my community and my beautiful Gaza that has meant so much to the Palestinian people there and to what remains of my family to merely become a social media phenomenon where it is on display for people to look at and say, wow, look at this, is so horrible.
That's the only way. That's the only way that they can get people to recognize just how bad it really is. Because there is no mainstream media covering what has been going on for 80 years. It's all skewed media.
So may I just clarify?
Against Israel.
If so, that sounds really awful what I just heard you say. You're saying that you want to see images of dead Palestinians. You want to
No one wants to see those images. But if that's what it takes to get people to recognize what's actually going on instead of another Middle Eastern war, then that's what...
Your sacrifice. I am willing to accept it. Like, I actually like, I like, that's what, like, I heard that point people are making online, that it's like, oh, like, she's okay with you sacrificing and stuff like that. Like, I get that point. In my opinion, though, she's kind of right. Like, yes, this brought eyes to the conflict, but the problem is your eyes are also not seeing. Like, you're like, oh well, Hamas over like what is it, 17 years. Well, actually up to 2023, so like 16 years. Or 15, 16 years. Over those years, Hamas shot like 100,000 rockets into Israel. Well, we didn't hear about any casualties. Israel has the Iron Dome, so it's like, oh, okay, so they can just fucking keep shooting at us because we have the Iron Dome. Bro, this is like, you're shooting hundreds of and thousands of rockets that cost you $5, and every time Israel intercepts, it's like a 50,000 fucking rocket to intercept it. Okay. Guess who's gonna run out of rockets first? It's like, this is not like, if you're constantly under siege, under barrage of fucking rockets, okay, that kind of like hinders your overall development, your economic state. You have to keep being like a state that revolves around its military, which is like that's not a good thing for a military to be, for a country to be. You don't want a country to be revolved around its military. Like right now, one of the best futures in Israel is like staying in the army, right? Or working in tech for the army, right? Obviously, there's like online stuff you can do, whatever, and all that stuff because like the exchange is fucking amazing, sure. But for the most part, if you want a stable job, you go to the army. Okay, that is not like that's not a good sign for a country that like people have to go to the army to have a better life, like a higher standard of living. That's kind of stupid.
What it takes. It's tragic that
So
that's what it took.
do you not recognize that Hamas, in official communiques, has and publicly and overtly has made it clear that part of their strategy relies on causing maximum death and destruction in Gaza, so that the ensuing
In
imagery,
response
May
to
2025, Hamas announced that it had executed 6 Palestinians and shot 13 others in the legs for allegedly looting food stores and community kitchens in Gaza. For allegedly looting stores. Yeah. People are hungry, they look for food, so we shot them. Yeah. And also, if they announced this, it was probably like more than this.
Netanyahu blatantly saying that his goal is ethnic cleansing.
may I just finish this point, please? That Hamas wants to generate maximum death and destruction on the
Can't be ethnic cleansing. It's been a year and a half, a bit more, in this war. Gaza didn't even lose 10% of its population. And it didn't even lose 5% of its population, realistically. Are we at like 2% of population right now? Right? 2,200,000 would be 10%. 5% would be 100,000, and we are at under 100,000. So we're at under 100,000 people dead in a year and a half. And again, majority of them are combat aged men. Yeah, kind of hard to argue about ethnic cleansing or anything like that. Like, that just makes no fucking sense.
the ground in Gaza, in hopes that the ensuing imagery can actually rile up the international community, rile up folks in the Western diaspora on college campuses, so that then this could delegitimize Israel, so that this could stop the war. I'm talking about facts on the ground as somebody who has
Amen.
so much attachment to the reality of Gaza on a daily basis. My brother is there right now running one of the biggest medical NGOs. He has 70 direct reports that are doing work that's saving lives. I hear from folks from the protesters.
There wouldn't
Hamas.
be lives to save if there was no occupation.
How about
Well, let's rewrite fucking history now, shall we? Well, if Israel just fucking like, if the Jews just died, there wouldn't be any lives to save. Actually, they are going to be killing themselves, as they always have, before the existence of Israel. So probably there would be. You just wouldn't care, right? Because as much as you don't care about the lives being lost in Syria and Lebanon and Yemen, of like how they're killing themselves, okay, their own people. I won't say themselves because these are different factions, but like they are killing their own people. Yeah, they're kind of really good at like just like killing themselves. Okay, Israel has very little to do with it. It's just an easy target because they're Jewish.
Your brother would not have to run an NGO if the occupation never existed and they weren't constantly bombing and killing children.
my brother was there.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you very much, Dana. Hi, Evan. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you.
I love that the girl in the jeans shirt, I guess, full jeans, pretended like she's gonna try, just like put her foot down, put it back up.
So I think one of the issues with your framing in that October 7th is leading to what we're saying, the genocide today in Gaza, is the explanation that what is happening is inevitable. Genocides are not inevitable. This is the first armed conflict since the Rwandan genocide, in which the majority of deaths overall are women and children.
So let's see the fact check.
October.
The UN Human Rights Office estimates 70% of those killed in Gaza were women and children, while the Hamas came out and said 76% that were killed were not women and children.
of Gaza had some of the worst bombing campaign that we've seen since the Korean War or World War II. This type of level of destruction is not inevitable. This shows the explicit aims of the Israeli war cabinet, which they have explicitly endorsed as being a part of, for example, Trump's proposed plan of ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip. The goal, for example, right now, with the complete blockage of food and aid, is to make Gaza uninhabitable.
October 7th was an inside job. Here's the thing, like with that argument of like, well, you know, Bibi's government let October 7th happen. And honestly, like, show me any proof, I'll probably believe it. Like, because what happened October 7th makes zero